Broadcasting from the Unshackled Studios in Melbourne. This is WilmsFront, brought to you by theunshackled.net. Now here's Tim Wilms.
Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's show. The date is Sunday the 22nd of December 2019, 3 sleeps until Christmas. It is 7:15 here in Melbourne, so obviously 15 minutes later than scheduled, but it's a Sunday night. Everyone's kicking back, so we've got no other shows that we need to finish to fit in tonight. Now, the next scheduled show of WilmsFront would be Christmas Day, but we won't be airing on Christmas evening because that's a family day, but we'll be back on the Friday the 27th at 7 p.m. Melbourne time. We are currently live on the Tim Wilms YouTube channel and also the Tim Wilms D-Live channel, and I've also got Entropy set up for those watching on YouTube. You can join in the conversation, send us a super chat, and also ask questions throughout the show. I'll just put in the link in again. Now, as you can see, I've got a guest next to me tonight. So I've got local patriot activist Garry Hume. Welcome to the studio.
Tim, thanks very much. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Now, you may not be a household name, but you've been on the front line at patriot rallies and events over the past 7 years, though as people could just tell from your accent there, that you grew up in Britain. You've got a British accent, as I say it.
Pommy bastard, yeah, yeah, that's right, yeah.
So you've been following the Brexit struggle and the recent UK election campaign, where the new Conservative supermajority under Boris Johnson finally passed the legislation.
It's great. Democracy is just beginning to shine through, which is refreshing after 3 years of torture, basically.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
I think that's what all the UK wanted for Christmas was Brexit done.
It's probably the best Christmas present you're ever going to get, and it was said quite clearly with a massive majority of over 80 seats. So it's good. He's got a mandate to get on and get it done. So fantastic, great Christmas.
Oh, well, we'll start with your on the ground activism. You've had well, quite a I would say active past or couple of years, because you were one of the Milo Five when you attended the Milo Yiannopoulos event in, was it December 2017?
Yeah.
And I sat in on the trial, saw the footage
Yep.
there, and you turn the corner and then all of a sudden there's all these Antifa people who just go for you.
Yeah, listen, quite intimidating, but very predictable. That's what they do. They attack in large numbers, and yeah, it was quite disappointing to be charged, really. Yeah.
But the various magistrates' court mentions, they lasted throughout all of 2018.
Yeah.
You took a diversion at the end of 2018 while Neil Erickson and Ricky Turner, they went to, there was a trial in May. Ricky Turner took a plea deal on the first day, but Neil went to a trial in the magistrates' court. But the ordeal wasn't over for you. You were called as a witness.
Yeah, I was called as a witness for Neil, and it was he shouldn't have really been there at all. When you're getting jumped and you're getting attacked and your friends are being attacked, you try to defend yourself. You try to defend your friends. So he really did nothing wrong. So it was a total witch hunt, and it shouldn't have happened. It went on for so long, which was a farce. Nothing was clear cut. It was unfortunate. It was disappointing. Yeah.
Well, there were some lefties who were charged, the instigators, but it was more patriots who were charged in the end.
Well, what it was, but what was interesting, that night after the Milo event had actually finished, the locals were kicking on and rioting and attacking the police with bottles and stones and poles, whatever. But not one of those got arrested, which was how does that work? They were kicking on until midnight.
Yeah, because there was because it was the summer, obviously, and when the event finished, because it was day when it started, there was night when it finished. There was rioting going on. The police riot squad for there, and what the socialist Antifa groups had done and knocked on the door of the housing commission there to the residents of African appearance and said, hey, there's this racist speaking. They obviously didn't say that he's married to an African.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, and so they took them at face value and joined them.
They stirred them up and they got them involved. They knew what they were doing. It was shocking, but like I say, it went on all night, until about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And the violence was very severe, but no one got arrested.
No, I remember at the time, because I covered the initial arrest, that Victoria Police, they put out some photos of the men of African appearance they were after, but didn't find any of them.
No, I wonder why that is.
Oh, well, I don't know.
It was funny. Did you see some of these left-leaning groups? Should we say they were actually trying to raise money for the defence of the African community, but none of them actually got arrested. But they had a fundraiser ready just in case.
As GoFundMe made sure that the funds, like they go to good cause.
Good causes, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And this year, Australia Day, it was way back in January 26, you were on the steps of Flinders Street with Ricky Turner, simply just standing there holding the Australian flag, and you both nearly got lynched for it.
It was quite remarkable, we'd been to an event in the town that day, and we were just stood outside Flinders. We were just going to head home. But anyway, we just stood there. We was actually just having a chat, and then the protest of the left, the anti-Australian Day mob, shall we say, they bowled up and surrounded us on the steps. But luckily, we were stood next to probably about 15, 20 police officers. So we thought, well, we'll stay here, we'll be safe, and unfortunately, that wasn't quite the case because, we, like I said, we stood there and
with a flag on Australia Day,
with a flag,
and a
think,
Melbourne,
yeah,
well, not just a Melbourne icon, Australian icon, because the Flinders Street steps.
It's iconic. It's
yes.
iconic. But anyway, who'd have thought it? Ricky Turner got literally pounced on and dragged across the floor. I tried to stop him because, you know, he went down, they're kicking, they're punching. I'm trying to drag him up. So I got tore away and the police dragged me away. That was the last I seen of Ricky. Ricky was just being pulled away into the distance, and wasn't until some time later that I'd seen the footage, and it was it was quite severe actually. It was a lynching.
Well, News Corp, they in the Herald Sun put out an article saying that they talked about our interview with Ricky and also the Future Now footage as well, talking about how he nearly got lynched, and they said that this was an example of fake news.
Yeah, wow.
And I noticed that a certain one notorious leftist said that Ricky provoked the response by abusing them. Is that?
Well, that was quite remarkable, you know, because we actually stood there and we made a point of not actually speaking. We didn't give him anything. We just stayed calm. Obviously, there's thousands of them, you know, surrounding us. We're not gonna abuse them, really. Let's be honest.
No, well, you're mute. As is the case these days with patriots in general, your mere presence is enough to.
They get triggered.
Yeah,
it's quite remarkable.
And a lot
flag. I think it was the flag that triggered them.
Yeah,
the Australian flag.
And a lot of the time, the police just say your more presence here is enough to cause a breach of the peace, and that's what they use as their excuse to move people on.
Well, we just thought we were safe where we stood, minding our own business next to the police. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Like I said, Ricky literally got lynched. The police, they were struggling to control the situation, and it was pretty unpleasant.
Because what happens, for people who don't know, with Australia Day, I didn't go this year. I went at the beginning of 2018. That's when I could sort of still morph into the crowds. Yes,
disappear into the crowd. Yeah.
But now my face is plastered everywhere.
You trigger him, Tim. Yeah.
Oh yes, I get a lot of messages and comments. A lot of the time now, which just amuse me. But back in Australia 2018, so they have the Invasion Day people. They have at the steps of Parliament House, they have their initial speeches, and that's when that was at Tarneen Onus Williams, who was on, was it the Curie Council of Victoria?
Yeah.
Even though that gets government funds, she said, "Fuck Australia, hope it burns to the fucking ground."
Yeah.
And what they do after that, because there's the Australia Day Parade, which I took some footage of. It's quite interesting, the Australia Day Parade. And this is the official one. It has all the different nationality groups that basically, like, there was, Vietnamese, Taiwanese.
There are many.
Yes, but obviously having all their cultural, even their nation's flags.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was basically, the message was that Australia is just an amalgamation of all other countries and cultures. Sort of, we've got no real one of our own.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was also, had to laugh when because they had an announcer there coming through was Miss Transsexual Australia marching in the Melbourne Australia Day Parade.
What's all that about? Yeah.
Yes, and I saw Daniel Andrews. He was least man enough to march in the parade.
Oh, that's nice of him, really, isn't it?
Yeah, to support Australia Day.
Yeah.
But after the parade's over, the Invasion Day people they go from the steps of Parliament House and go down the Australia Day parade route.
They do, they follow exactly the same route,
the year that I went, Tarneen Onus Williams, she was abusing all of the people who were watching the Australia Day parade, supporting a racist country. Like, they're just normies who wanted to celebrate Australia Day.
And then they minding their own business. Yeah, and then a national day like that, something to take some pride in, and unfortunately, people like that just want to close you down. They see it as, an horrendous act of, hundreds of years ago.
And then they centre on the intersection between Swanston Street, which takes in the steps of Flinders Street, Federation Square, and I think it's St Paul's Cathedral that's on,
yeah.
and that has that big sign, "Welcome Refugees." I'm not sure if it's still there.
It's still there.
Still
It's
there.
been there a long time now.
And then there's one pub that's there.
Yeah, Jackson's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's being disrupted with the building of the metro tunnel, putting in a new town hall station. Though Daniel Andrews is having a bit of trouble negotiating with the contractors.
He seems to have a lot of trouble negotiating with people.
Well, yes, the Victoria Police, they've cracked and are now on strike. I'm not sure if you've been out and about and seen the...
I've seen the cars, they're displaying their, they're not happy with, I think it's 2%. And then what did the Victorian government give themselves? 12%, was it?
And they claimed that the reason this is Daniel Andrews' justification, that we have to reply to constituents via social media.
Wow. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. 12% or 2%, for the boys in blue on the streets doing all the hard yards, and they're put in danger and everything. It's but it smacks of hypocrisy, giving yourself a 12% pay rise.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's his problem.
But that is Dan Andrews.
Yeah, he's given a lot of sweetheart deals to, well, not just himself, but other stakeholders. And so, if anyone deserves a pay rise, it's Victoria Police. I know there's been a lot of debate online this week between patriots who sort of believe that the police should have basically made a stronger stance, but at the end of the day, they just follow orders.
Follow directions. That's exactly right.
But if anyone deserves a pay rise out of all the public servants that we have, it's them.
So. They do a tough gig out there. They're on the front line. They got to deal with some terrible people out there and see some terrible things, and they do a good job on the whole, really.
Yes,
we all moan about them, but they do a good job.
Well, they have to answer to Premier Daniel Andrews and Police Commissioner Graham Ashton for another 3 years because Dan Andrews won that landslide re-election last November, 2018.
Sadly.
Yes, which you wouldn't put it down to he's doing a good job. I mean,
I think the opposition was just not good enough. He was a wet lettuce. He was just not up to the job at all.
And the state opposition is still nowhere to be seen.
No, not at all.
I mean, Daniel Andrews, he is building things, but
at a cost.
Yeah, at
a huge cost.
And as we said, he can't negotiate. And so, well, the North East link was just reported this week. That's because he cancelled the East West link, but he's going to build the North East link. The consortium deal has fallen through, and that's a badly needed link.
It's chaos up there, absolute chaos. It's bumper to bumper, the whole of the northern suburbs.
I mean, we would appreciate it more if it was on time, on budget, and not these sort of breakdowns.
It's interesting though where the money comes from, especially now we signed up to the Belton Road.
Were you there at that rally?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. Yeah. It was really good to see the local Chinese and Vietnamese community come out and hammer Dan Andrews, and they want to reject communism, and Dan Andrews is tying us into a communist regime. Quite remarkable.
He said it was the right thing to do to sign this.
I don't think so. No, definitely not. I mean, geez, it's a regime. It's funny, why weren't they left there on the day? I mean,
Oh, they actually, I got sent photos that there was not just, obviously, spies of Chinese appearance, who we know who they're answering to, but there was also white spies, which, because it was organised by Morgan Jonas, who's a long-time associate of Avi Yemeni, they automatically think it's a bad rally, even though that there was Victorian socialists who attended a previous Free Hong Kong rally, ironically, but they haven't been since.
Yeah, no, just regards to the left though. I mean, it's the hypocrisy of them, where Dan Andrews has signed us up with the Chinese Communist Party, and they got all these Muslims over there in concentration camps, but the left aren't up in arms. They've kept quiet about that.
They're confused.
They are very confused. Yeah.
It's sort of
they're a confused bunch of people.
Yeah, and because obviously they want to support oppressed people, but then they don't like the fact that people like Avi Yemeni and other nationalists and patriots and conservatives like Andrew Bolt have been supporting freedom for the Hong Kong people, and it's sort of like, we can't be seen to be supporting.
No, well that's right. Yeah. That's interesting. But anyway, we'll see what happens about that.
There have been other smaller bouts of patriot activism in Melbourne. Probably what a lot of people have forgotten is that there was a secret plan to house asylum seekers up in Eltham, which is a northeast suburb of Melbourne. They were just going to house them in like a community.
Yeah,
sort of
well, it's an aged care home in actual fact, and that come to light because a friend of mine, her mother was in the care home, so obviously they had meetings there, and they were obviously aghast because they didn't want that to happen. These are elderly people. They're quite vulnerable. It's war-torn people going into an elderly care home. Probably not the best idea. Anyway, so she asked me if I could help in some way, shape or form, which I gladly did. I went into the care home. I spoke to some of the people. They were very unhappy with it. So yeah, we tried to get a few things organised. We got some traction, good traction actually. We went on TV. We had some demonstrations. We got some signatures. When I say we got some signatures, we're up to about 15,000 signatures trying to stop it happening. And
that was physical signatures, was it?
Physical signatures.
Not one of those e-petitions, change.org?
No, we walked the streets, we got signatures and so on and so forth. And your average person was quite, taken back by it because it's obviously not a clever thing to do.
Yeah, because this is what they depend upon governments, that because ordinary people are busy living their lives, that they won't know that this is secretly going on.
Yeah. What we actually found out, and it obviously got shoved through really quickly, but that was all money orientated. It was through St Vincent's at the time, and they were getting a huge amount of money. Like the average elderly care person in that home was getting something. They pay maybe $150 a week. Well, the government was paying them something like about $500 or $600 a week per a refugee.
Wow.
So it was all about the money. It was all about the money. It wasn't about the elderly care people, and it certainly wasn't about the refugees. It was about the cash. I mean, I think they would have been better to put them into the community, into people's houses or something. Let some people earn some money out of it.
Well, there's often these refugee activists, they don't practice what they preach and house refugees themselves.
They don't. No, that's exactly right.
That's what I've been saying with the climate protesters outside Kirribilli House demanding leadership from Scott Morrison, which what exactly do they... I mean, they didn't want him as Prime Minister anyway, so what sort of leadership do they want from him? And the reason why I mentioned those e-petitions is because Change.org Australia, I'm not sure if you know this, but it's worth repeating to the audience. The CEO of Change.org Australia is Sally Rugg. She was the Get Up campaign director for the Yes vote during same-sex marriage. And the deputy or campaigns director is a guy known by the name as Nick Hollis. He's also a queer activist and was the one standing next to Sherelle Moody when she said that firefighters come back to beat up their wives. Yeah. So they're the two main people in charge of Change.org Australia. Wow. Yeah. And she said it was, I couldn't believe all the petitions started this week to call on the Governor-General to sack Scott Morrison and dissolve Parliament. But if they wanted to stop the fires, these people, why don't they volunteer themselves?
Well, that's right. I mean, you look at Tony Abbott, that guy was absolutely lambasted all the time, but he's out there all the time.
Yeah.
He wears his heart on his chest and he's out there and he's active and he's doing his stuff, but you can't do the right thing for the, sometimes.
People have dug up a Guardian column when he was Prime Minister during 2013, during the fire season, and they actually criticised him for fighting the fires himself.
Yeah, they did. That's exactly right.
Because he is the ultimate action man. He
is,
loves being on the
absolutely.
front line, whether he's not just a firefighter, but a volunteer lifesaver at Manly Beach, and
That's
he goes
right.
to volunteer at remote Indigenous communities as well, and he bike rides
He's
every
very active.
day.
I think he's a superstar, to be honest with you.
He's 62 now. I think he's probably going to live to about 100.
I think so. Yeah.
And it's interesting this week that sort of even the lefties are sort of saying, oh yeah, it's good that he's volunteering.
Maybe he's not so bad after all. Yeah.
But I've digressed from that. It's going back to the Eltham activism.
Yeah.
It was interesting you said that you actually got some media coverage there because basically since the Christchurch massacre, which was an event completely out of any patriots, Australian patriots control, there's been this media blackout that we shouldn't give these people a platform.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not sure if you saw Blair when he was interviewed by the mainstream media outside after his court verdict. He was sort of like, oh, you're asking me a question.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, obviously, we all to condemn that. I mean, people like that. Guy's a lunatic. I mean, that's got nothing to do with us. That was just a one-off. How a patriot can get. We can get the blame for that. The guy was a nutcase. He just needs locking up.
Yeah, well, he is locked up at the moment.
And just throw away the key. People like that are just bad people.
Yeah. But one of the organisers of the Eltham activism, he sadly just passed away. I should be able to make this bigger here. I'm not sure if I can, but Julian Hugh Pearson. This is a tribute from Logan Spalding. I'm having trouble reading that, so I'm not sure if our audience can read it, but I'll try and read it here. It is with great sadness that we must bid farewell to a true blue Aussie and a damn good bloke, Julian Hugh Pearson. I met this wonderful man a couple of years back when Milo came to Melbourne. I travelled with him to the event, and he helped him unload speakers up for him to speak outside the event. Do you remember that at all?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
He cared majorly for everyday Australians and was always there to help. When my grandfather passed, he left a wonderful message that has helped me through some times where I feel sorrow at my grandfather's passing, and sadly, the day has also come for this wonderful soul. My friend, you'll be missed. We all thank you for everything you've done for us, Australia as a whole, and in the true spirit we say, Aussie, 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 oi, 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 rest in peace.
Yeah, no, that's nicely put together.
Yeah.
I mean, Julian was a very nice person. Anyone that knew him would know he didn't have a bad bone in his body. He was married to a lovely Asian lady. He was just a nice person. He would help anyone. He really would help anyone. He was very active. He was very passionate. But he was a nice person, loyal.
I've seen a lot of tributes to him from, the Patriots are still allowed on Facebook. You're still allowed on Facebook, which means you're still not considered as much of a problem to the authorities.
Well, I like to think that I'm fairly normal,
And you can see at the top there that this was by the Diamond Valley and Yarra Resistance. This is what Logan included. This is their tribute. Some of you may remember Papa Smurf from such hits as the Battle of Eltham and Hand Puppets in hilariously inappropriate circumstances. Well, last week he shuffled to that place where attention-seeking uber nationalists, wankstains, go when they've given their last stuff and salute. We will let you select the appropriate emotion for the occasion, and they've just put
listen,
some
I'm very aware who they are. I don't go on their site anymore, but people are taking screenshots and sending it to me, and you read some of the things that people wrote on there, and these lefties, they think they're better than you. They think they got more compassion, and they think they're just a better class of people. They're not. They're just horrid. Some of the things they were saying, nah. They're not good people.
Yeah, they're the ones that claim, oh, they're the tolerant ones, and
there was nothing tolerant
They
about
care
that.
for the
You know,
vulnerable.
just because you've got a different, you know, look on life. Like I say, Julian, he never went around. He never hurt anyone.
No.
He'd always looked at things from a financial point of view. You know, he had his little puppets there. You know, there was nothing wrong with the guy. He was a terrific person, and the stuff they said about him, which I'm not even going to repeat, was just abhorrent, to be honest with you. Yeah, there was no.
This is another thing the left are very confused about, because the vast majority of patriot activists are working class people who the left they used to champion, and now they're the people that the left demonize and vitriolically abuse the most.
And just your average Joes, who the working class, pretty much. It's funny, you know, you look at those, and you know, they go hand in hand with a murderer who, you know, carved people up. You know the chap we're talking about, and you know they don't condemn that.
No,
It's,
I mean,
staggering.
no,
Hypocrisy.
we just 5 minutes ago utterly condemned the actions of the Australian in New Zealand, but they never disavow any of their killers.
Anyone who does something like that is just a horrible human being. I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, if you're on the left or on the right or anywhere in between. It's but they don't condemn any of that.
One of our commenters has said, just to move towards the microphones a bit, we've got the amps up full blast, but yeah.
Sorry, chair's a bit comfy.
And also, well, this is your first time in the studio, Gary, so sort of the mic and the sort of camera a bit new to you.
Yeah, a little bit new to me, yeah.
We have got a super chat over in Entropy from Dear Beltran for $3. Thank you very much, dear. Please let Gary know he is not Australian, in brackets, inside joke.
That's right, she's just a wop.
Well, that segues into, the next topic, because you were born and grew up in Bath, in the south of England.
Yep, correct.
Which is, it's not too far from London.
No, listen, it's probably about 100 k's, probably about 140 k's southwest of London. Yeah.
And you migrated to Australia in 2003. Why did you decide to?
Oh, just a time in your life where, you know, you want to do something a little bit different. I was very fortunate. I'd always wanted to come to Australia, and I've just jumped in with both feet, really. And very lucky. And very lucky for them to accept me.
And are you an Australian citizen?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Are you still a British citizen?
I am dual national, yes.
Yep, so which means that if you ever became a politician, you'd fall foul of section...
I'd obviously give my UK passport up. I'm here to stay.
The reason why I think this is worth exploring, because we mentioned Avi Yemeni before, a lot of Australian patriots do take an issue with the fact that he promotes himself as an Australian. He's both an Australian.
Okay. Well, I think if you're in Australia, you're Australian. You got to embrace it. Yeah.
But obviously, being a dual British and Australian citizen, where both nations are part of the Commonwealth, British Commonwealth, and both have the same Queen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's almost like you're in a different county of England, really, living in Australia. It's pretty special.
Well, if we go through a bit of history about Australian citizenship, there was no such thing as Australian citizenship until 1948, when the Chifley Labor government passed the Australian Citizenship Act, as it's known now. Before that, all Australians were British subjects.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 1998 when One Nation candidate Heather Hill was elected to the Queensland Senate.
Yeah.
And because she still had British citizenship, that was taken to the Court of Disputed Returns, which is the High Court, and they ruled that she had dual allegiance.
Dual interests,
even though it was British and Australian citizenship. And during the last Parliament, the dual citizenship crisis, it was called.
It was, yeah.
It was all people who had dual citizenship of Commonwealth nations. It was Jackie Lambie, she was British. Barnaby Joyce was a Kiwi. Just to remember, there was so many
There
of
was
them.
a few. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, and I remember that there was a lot of the diversity crowd who thought that this was quite funny, because there was a Twitter exchange between Osman Faruqi and Yasmin Abdel Magid. She was asking what's going on with this, because she's in London now, because she feels at home in that city.
Wow. Of course she does.
Yeah, and Osman Faruqi said the white people are being fucked, Yaz.
Yeah, okay.
But it's the point is, that's not what the founders of Australia had in mind, that the High Court would say that if you have Australian and British citizenship, that...
I wouldn't have thought it was a clash of interests. I think that's what they're obviously trying to do. I mean, it's a bit different if you're Chinese and you're Australian, or Vietnamese and you're Australian. It's all about the interest you got in something. So yeah.
And there was a further change to the sort of last legislative links the Australian Constitution had to Britain, was severed in with Bob Hawke in 1986 with the Australia Act.
Yeah.
That means that the British Parliament can't amend the Australian Constitution, and also means that Queen Elizabeth, the current monarch, she is Queen of Australia. That it's just not Queen of...
I don't think she's got the power to sack a government anymore like she used to.
Well, the Governor General still can, because even though the lefties, they didn't like the Governor General sacking Gough Whitlam in 1975, they want him to sack Scott Morrison in the current year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I think we can certainly all agree there's never been a time where Australia and Britain have ever... I mean, we've had different foreign policy, for example.
Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, Australia's it's their own country. They can do what they want, and and I think the UK accepts that now. We've moved on. It's almost 2020.
But there's never going to be a war.
A drama. There's never going to be a drama.
Well, I think if the United Kingdom as we know it fundamentally changes, which could happen.
Could very well happen.
Because,
and it is happening in a lot of respects at the moment.
Yes,
so
because
which is good.
Obviously the Australia has been culturally enriched by diversity, but it's only really happening in the sort of the centre of Sydney, Melbourne, and the sort of mid-range suburbs, sort of outer suburbs, and obviously there's other cities in Australia, Adelaide, Perth, which they still have migration intakes, but it's nowhere near. I'm sure you've been to inner Melbourne and suburban Melbourne and Sydney plenty of times.
Absolutely.
And seen. But that's also something that we've inherited from the British.
Yeah, it's funny, because if I'm sure if a lot of people had actually gone to some of the cities in the UK and actually see first-hand the damage that has happened, they would say, hold on a minute, this is it's getting, let's just slow it down, let's slow our intake down. You've always got to have migration, but you've got to have sensible migration, you've got to have the right type of migration.
Because it was brought to the forefront recently with John Cleese, he was a member of Monty Python originally in the 70s, and of course made Fawlty Towers, which is iconic British comedy.
Very much so.
He made the correct observation that London was no longer an English
He was a stranger.
city.
He was a stranger in his own city.
Yeah, and he's nearly 80 now, and so he's obviously seen it change. And it'll be sad when we lose him, because he's also against political correctness as well. Life of Brian, that was blasphemous.
I mean,
in the day.
and it's bloody funny.
Yeah,
it's bloody funny. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, you look at places like maybe Box Hill and some of the original occupants there now, and they are a stranger in their own suburb.
Yes, and he was just talking about London, but it's basically happened to every city in the UK now, because people have talked about Birmingham now. That's basically become a Muslim city nearly, which is
well, most listen, all the most major cities, certainly up north, a few down south, that's how they are. They are
Blackburn. That's
Blackburn. You got Luton down south, which is
Leicester, which was the original.
Lots of Yorkshire.
A lot of Australians, they roughly know the geography of or England because of the English Premier League. That's sort of
they work around soccer. Yeah, okay.
But no matter like where you go, there's no real. You said to me before, even your hometown. That's sort of
it's changing. Yeah, it is very much changing. Yeah, it is. Beautiful place, but it's changing.
Obviously, British politics for the past 3.5 years has been in turmoil because the politicians have refused to implement the will of the British people and the Brexit referendum.
Yeah, listen, for the last 3.5 years, it's just been a cesspit of, MPs just not respecting a democratic vote. You got your Corbyn, who was, it's funny, back in the day, he was always anti-EU.
Yes, that's what he was basically a national socialist.
Yeah, very much so. But he was only interested in becoming the PM. So thankfully that never happened because,
he was looking very salty when he walked into the opening of the House of Commons with Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
And then when he went out to the car afterwards, he slammed the door shut, wouldn't answer.
He wasn't happy. He's a big child, really. But that would have been an absolute disaster if Corbyn got in. Corbynism is just not a good thing. It's so it's good to good to get Brexit done.
I mean, Blairism is pretty bad as well, which obviously referring to the social democrat philosophy of former Prime Minister Tony Blair. Well, he won 3 landslide elections for the UK Labour Party in the 90s and the 2000s. Basically, he got rid of the socialism in the British Labour manifesto and made them electable.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he dragged him more centre sort of thing, and then Corbyn come along and took him. My God, that far to the left. It just wasn't. His idea of socialism, thankfully, didn't come to fruition.
Because people. They may have been educated, ironically, through the 3rd season of the Crown series on Netflix, which because they're going through the 1970s now, which was, I'm not sure if you're old enough to remember. Britain during the 1970s when they had the 3-day week.
They did, yeah.
3 days
they
of
did.
electricity.
All the miners were on strike. Yeah. Everyone was on strike.
We might get the 3-day.
I read about it. I read about it.
We might get the 3-day electricity week in Australia soon, given shutting down all the coal stations here.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So we might get
certainly at night time when the sun's not out to get the solar panels kicking in. So
And of course, the winter of discontent in 78, 79, when the Garbos went on strike, and
so did Fireys as well. They went on strike. The army actually stepped in to fight fires and everything,
and there was literally like piles of shit in the street.
There absolutely was. Yeah.
And these days, everyone's got the memory of a goldfish, and so nobody remembers. Sure. I think even the older generation have forgotten to pass on the stories to their children about just how different life was.
Oh, it was doom and gloom. It really was doom and gloom. But it's a different time we live in now. But like I said, thankfully, people woke up to Corbyn. He was very unpopular. People just didn't want a socialist republic. He had a bad past with hanging around with the IRA. He was friendly with radical hate preachers. He was it didn't like Israelis.
He had a tough interview with Andrew Neil of the BBC, who's actually. Well, he's a conservative, but he gives everyone a tough grilling.
He does give everyone a tough going over, and it's probably the best thing that Boris Johnson did was not to go on there, to be honest with you. Yeah,
well, he even hid from Piers Morgan on the final day because Piers Morgan, after his disastrous time in the United States, has actually been quite based as the host of Good Morning Britain. But he's had lots of fun during the election trolling Hugh Grant, who all all his candidates lost?
Well, every single one lost, which was actually quite nice to see. But it's quite remarkable. You get your Hugh Grants and your Lily Allens, you know,
Oh yeah,
who
she's
live
quit
in
Twitter now.
yeah, who live in central London, and these multimillionaires, and they try to tell the working class people what to do and what not to do. Yeah.
Hugh Grant, thankfully, is only a fictional prime minister.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Because Boris Johnson, he co-opted the Love Actually scene with the cards outside the house. I would have liked maybe Boris Johnson also to do another remake of, because in the movie Bill Nighy's character Billy Mack, the aging rock star, does instead of love is all around us, Christmas is all around us. Maybe Boris should have done Brexit is all around us.
It's geez, he did well. Yeah.
Because I would have put it past Boris to maybe do, because he did have the bulldozer where he tears down the Brexit thing.
He's got a bit of character about him as Boris. I quite like him.
I mean, they crassly call him a buffoon, but I think that's sort of more appropriate.
Well, he's done quite well for a buffoon, isn't he?
He won 2 terms as mayor of London, which for a Conservative, that's
in London. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
he was the mayor during the Olympics. I'd say sort of the more appropriate. He doesn't mind a bit of tomfoolery. That's sort of the British.
He's a character, but you know the most important thing about Boris, he respected a democratic vote, and he said, we got to get this done. If you haven't got democracy, you've got nothing.
And he broke from the Conservative leadership in 2016, because the reason why David Cameron, even though he's a Remainer, called the referendum is because in the 2014 UK European parliamentary election, Brexit Party, UKIP at the time, which Nigel Farage was the leader of, trounced the Conservatives in the election.
In the EUs,
and
absolutely.
he had...
he was worried about national elections. So that was his manifesto. We'll have a vote on it.
Yes. Yeah. Because, and you had a lot of the old Thatcher cabinet ministers.
Yeah.
We didn't touch upon Margaret Thatcher. She basically saved the nation.
Well, she did.
During the 80s. And, she was, part of her downfall was that she wasn't for greater EU integration.
No.
But obviously she passed in 2013, but you still had Nigel Lawson, Norman Tebbit. They were saying, look, the UKIP, they're taking all of our voters. What do? You adopt their policies. And David Cameron, he called for the vote, but he thought that he could win it, because in 2014 he was able to, I call it a form of interference in the Scottish independence referendum. He was able to assist, basically bribing the Scottish people with a whole lot more concessions. But he couldn't offer the British people concessions from the European Union, because they're a super state. They just told him to get stuff. But of course, the British people voted for Brexit 52-48, and David Cameron had to fall on his sword.
He had to fall on his sword. He had to go, and it was just unfortunate. Theresa May was actually elected, and she got in there. I mean, she was a Remainer.
Yes.
It should have always been, somebody, of a Leave persuasion should have taken that.
And we've learnt over the past few years that Conservative centre-right parties, they can only win when they have a leader who is a believer in the party philosophy, because we saw in Australia 2016 Malcolm Turnbull almost lost the majority that Tony Abbott won in 2013, just scraped back over the line. And Theresa May, she went to the 2017 election 3 years early, because
she just tried to get that majority, and she come crashing down, and
I noticed when because she's still in the House of Commons, she got re-elected. In a speech, she tried to be as humble as possible, but she still didn't take complete responsibility for that election near loss, because she said at the time the British Labour Party were lying to the people when they said they still wanted to implement Brexit. Because, well, obviously when Corbyn got the leadership in 2015, there was a revolt by the Blairites, but they couldn't blast him out because the members voted him in.
They did. I mean, he seen most of the cabinet just walk away and resign.
But he still, Corbyn, he was a National Socialist, but he still ceded to the Blairites, and that he was going to support a second referendum, as they called it, a people's vote on the final deal.
Yeah.
But it was quite a clever trick by the Remainers, and I remember they've still got they had their Remain Party, which was a merger of
Labour and
Lib Dem and Conservative.
Yeah, they all defected and changed.
The Cuck Party.
Yeah,
What are now they're called, the Independent Group, something like that.
Yeah.
They're still around.
Well, but they failed miserably in the end, which was really good to see.
But they frustrated the nation for.
Oh, it went on for that long. It was an absolute joke. They couldn't, they were, just could not move forward. Could not get domestic things done because of Brexit. But we've seen what happened.
And there was. Not only did the Conservatives not have a majority, but there was also, when Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, there were people Tory MPs who voted for the legislation to ban a no-deal Brexit. There was one who even defected from Conservatives to the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, that was just sticking your fingers up to the people. Really, we don't care. And it's quite amazing the MPs, their constituents, who heavily voted Leave. They just stuck their fingers up to them and said, no, we're going to vote to stay.
So Boris Johnson, the Parliament for many months was in limbo.
It was
because of the fixed year 5-year terms. Legislation, it needs a 2/3 majority to call an early election. And Labor was the first opposition. They voted against an election three times. Because normally in oppositions want elections because they want to get out of opposition, but they knew they would lose. And so they basically wanted Boris Johnson to be a lame duck prime minister, and he tried to outwit them by prolonging Parliament, which
really upset him.
Yes, and which he can only advise the Queen to do that. The Queen, she is at the end of the day an absolute monarch, but the High Court of the United Kingdom basically said, we're going to invalidate the Queen's decision because we believe that Boris Johnson lied to her. But even if that was the truth, how can you overrule the Queen?
No, how can you? I don't think you can, but obviously there's a way around it.
Which also shows that the judiciary, which once they're on the bench, you can't blast them out. They are another entrenched special interest who tried to thwart Brexit as well.
Well, the other person who was an absolute nightmare for him, a thorn in his side, was the Speaker, John Bursko.
Yes,
he was. He's supposed to be impartial, but he was a staunch Remainer.
And he's finally out.
He's gone.
He's
gone, which is good. So
somebody shared a meme the other day that is now sort of doing the TV show circuit. He was on some Italian comedy show where he was sort of doing his speaker impersonation because he was a real prick, basically. Like he used to come up with what he thought were witty, funny slapdowns.
That's right. There was nothing funny about him.
And if you look at our speaker, Tony Smith, he's stern, obviously, but it's basically just by the book. You're interjecting. Obviously, it's got to be sort of.
That's right. You have to. But the thing is, you have to be neutral.
Also treat the politicians with respect as well.
It's a two-way street. Of course it is.
Yeah, not belittle them. Come up with sort of. You're not there for sort of a zinger.
No.
Which he was. But thankfully he's out now. He claims that he was the best speaker that there ever was.
Oh dear. Yeah.
But
I tend to disagree.
Yeah.
I tend to disagree.
With the election result with Boris Johnson, we call it a supermajority, 365 seats.
It's massive, and to take seats away from Labour up in traditional Labour heartlands, it just shows you how the people, they were just despaired. They just wanted to leave. They just wanted Brexit done.
And Boris Johnson simplified his message. Let's just get this done. I mean, they tried to trip him up on the NHS, which is the National Health Service.
Absolutely, a blatant lie.
Yeah, and obviously they showed him the photo of the boy on the floor, and there was a lot of commentary about whether that photo was legitimate,
Yeah.
I noticed that the mainstream media, they were keen to say, this is definitely real. How
Yeah.
dare these
Yeah.
conspiracy
Yeah.
theorists online.
Yeah.
I know that, well, if that happened in Australia, there was some young boy on the floor, that would be a national scandal.
Well, it would be in the UK as well. I think we can say that was fake news. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't sway the election.
But I mean, yeah, Corbyn, that was one of his things. It was all about, to him, it was all about, you're going to sell the NHS, it's up for sale. It was a blatant lie.
And
And people wised up to him.
there was also during the campaign another terror attack on the London Bridge where a just paroled convicted jihadi.
Yeah, just let him out.
Yeah, and the two of the victims were at a prisoner rehabilitation conference on the other side of the London Bridge.
It's almost ironic, though, isn't it? It's it's sad, but it's ironic that I don't know if you've seen what the father said. Did you see?
Of the father, yes, they don't exploit my son's death.
No, he said, I don't want draconian laws brought in.
So he's happy that his son died for the cause of diversity.
If you
he was happy to sacrifice.
If you had draconian laws, if you had tough laws in the first place, that would not have happened. So it's I'm sorry, but yeah, it's
and it
sad,
basically shows that. Because it has been white liberals who've let all these migrants in, whether they be from Labor, Liberal Democrats, or the Conservatives, and even when their own are attacked, raped, because it's centred on London. There's been we were mentioning terrorism.
Well, you think the knife crime epidemic in London? Jesus, why don't they deem that as terrorism?
And also epidemic of acid attacks as well, which is basically
huge.
It's the most abhorrent type of crime there, because
it's awful.
You're burning and disfiguring.
Figured for life. Yeah.
And
it's horrid.
Managing to get all of this dangerous chemicals into London there.
It's not spoken about enough, and it should be reported more, because it's epidemic levels as well. It really is. Yeah, it's some bad stuff goes on over there.
But you have, Sky News in the UK, which we should say is owned by a completely different company to Sky News in Australia.
Different. It is totally. It could not be any more different from Sky News Australia.
And of course, what's the most important issue to Sky News UK that they put on a few years back, that the air conditioning's sexist.
Oh my goodness!
Because apparently men and women have. On The Guardian, they brought that back this year because it became a meme during the campaign. The Guardian columns. That there's now online a Guardian column generator.
Oh goodness! Yeah.
Which is we've been blessed with the Guardian coming to Australia as well. That's been a British.
It's an online
rag,
thing, isn't it? Yeah,
rag. They've released now. I think the Guardian Weekly now. They're now printing.
Really?
A weekly.
Oh, they're
edition.
actually printing it, are they?
Yes.
Okay, I know it's an online rag that's it's over here, but yeah.
We've also got the Daily Mail Australia as well. That's a long-time British tabloid.
That's more of your conservative sort of like paper.
But it does publish a lot of trash with it. It's called Female. That's their section.
It contains some absolute crap at times, and it's not even worthy of being mentioned.
Well, they're known in Australia for basically being the plagiarists. They just rip off other people's work.
No.
They do some original things, but it's mainly just. I noticed that it's basically just reporting what people have said on Twitter.
Yeah.
I noticed the Guardian Australia do that as well, so did news.com.au, but we seem to have inherited, because Britain was known for a number of years for its red top tabloids.
Absolutely, yeah. News of the world.
Yes.
Yeah, thankfully that went away.
Yeah. And the forgotten British media mogul, who I think we should very much remember now, was Robert Maxwell. In the 80s, he wrote.
Well, that's right.
Group.
He raped them of all their money.
Stole the pension fund.
Stole their pension money, and then mysteriously, I think he necked himself pretty much.
He fell off a yacht.
Wow. Did he fall off, or did he just jump in? Who knows?
Yeah. He was pushed maybe by the Mossad or MI5.
Yeah, well, that's exactly MI6. Right. Yeah, he pilfered all their bloody money. Yeah.
I watched recently I'm not sure if you're a James Bond fan.
We like James Bond.
Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies. That
Yeah.
was made in 1997
Okay.
with the British media villain Elliot Carver, who tries to start a war between Britain and China because that was when the handover of Hong Kong was.
Hong Kong,
Yes.
with Chris Patton, yeah.
Yeah, because he wants the exclusive broadcast rights in China.
Oh, okay.
Which is obviously,
Yeah.
being a communist nation, they won't let him in
No.
it. People think that it was based on Rupert Murdoch, but it wasn't. It was based on Robert Maxwell.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, the reason why he got away with this for so long is because British libel laws, they're so liberal that he basically threatened to sue anyone who would say anything bad about him.
Yeah, well, you can't fight that, can you?
And there was his basic downfall a couple of months before he mysteriously fell off the yacht was when George Galloway, who was a British National Socialist MP
Yeah.
and a Conservative MP, I can't remember his name, they used parliamentary privilege
Yeah.
to mention his foreign editor was involved in some dodgy things over in the subcontinent.
Oh, okay.
And the media were able to report it because it was in parliamentary privilege, and so we're allowed to report on Parliament, and that's when sort of kicked off the investigations, and then 2 months later he...
Yep.
But it's interesting, 28 years later, his daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's become well known for being the madame of Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile
That's right,
billionaire.
yeah,
And
that's right, yeah.
She's still a live and free woman, even though she was basically the she was the brains and basically the worst of the pair. How is
Yeah.
she still allowed to be
Yeah.
a free woman?
Well, there you go.
I'll just turn the air conditioning off now because I am feeling
It is a bit chilly in here, yeah.
bit chilly.
Bit frosty.
That's but we have it is still relatively warm in Melbourne.
It is. It's nice.
But that goes into Jeffrey Epstein had a friendship with Prince Andrew, who is Queen Elizabeth's
That's
second son.
Not very nice, is it?
And she it's well been documented that he was the favorite son, and during the 80s and early 90s he was married to Sarah Ferguson.
Toe sucker.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
the toe sucker. Yeah.
And it was in the early 90s when Charles and Diana divorced, and Fergie, as she was known, and Prince Andrew divorced, and then there was the Windsor Castle fire at the end of 1992.
Yeah, you
and that's
done well
when
to know that.
the Queen, she gave her Annus
Annus Horribilis, yeah.
And I think this year has been an Annus Horribilis.
Well,
for
it
the
hasn't
royal
been
family.
it hasn't been a good year for him, has it? Let's
Well,
be
not
honest.
just for the Prince Andrew thing, but as I describe it, the cucking of Prince Harry. You know, he was the alpha in the royal family on the front line.
Absolutely, he was.
Afghanistan. Well, you know, he was
He's had a big falling out with his brother.
Yeah, but he was like, the tabloids had a field date with him, getting a bit touchy with girls at parties, and he wore fancy dress, the famous swastika.
Yeah.
And then he was caught with no clothes on in Las Vegas.
He was, he's a bit of a lad. Well, he was a bit of a lad. Yeah.
Well, since his marriage to Meghan Markle, who I think we can describe as a American divorcee socialite.
Yep.
And well, as you can tell, I know my British royal history. The last time a member of the royal family married a divorced American socialite,
he abdicated. Yeah.
But she has got Meghan Markle has got Prince Harry onto the climate change bandwagon, and said they're only going to have 2 children for the sake of the planet. And they had their recent tour for Africa, and he's said, I feel so overwhelmed with the world's problem. And there's always been those rumours that Charles is not his father because
with the red hair and everything.
But Charles was the original social justice warrior.
He was back in the day. Yeah.
The Prince's Trust has been involved with youth of colour for many years, and he has been a climate change activist for 20 years. So it's basically like father, like son. And I know that
it's rubbed off.
Yes,
Definitely
and
rubbed off.
Queen Elizabeth II, she's basically been the perfect monarch. She hasn't
very much
put
so.
a
wrong,
foot
really.
wrong.
No, she hasn't. Yeah.
And it seems that Prince Philip has absorbed all the sort of awkwardness. He's been
He's come out with some great one-liners over the years,
yes,
hasn't he?
like
Yeah.
they've called him a racist, but it's just sort of.
Do you remember what he said to the Chinese dude?
What?
Well, he asked him if he could actually see out of those eyes.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
well, that's Prince Philip saying that, not us. So,
No. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Prince
we are.
Philip.
This is on YouTube.
Yeah. No, but he really has dug himself into a big hole
he came
at
to
times.
Australia and asked. This was many years back. Asked the Aborigines, "Do you still throw spears at each other?"
Yeah.
And then there was one recently where
He can't be that stupid, can he?
He was touring, I think, a NHS hospital and asked one of the nurses where she was from the Philippines, and was like, "Oh yes, I see quite a lot of you around here, like Filipino nurses."
Oh.
And then there was another classic one where, well, they had their photo taken all the time, the royal family, but there was a lot of, I hate posing for photos. And he just had enough saying, just take the fucking picture. And so he's basically like the sort of old school.
He's an old school. He is an old school.
Politically incorrect grandpa. And
I don't think you'll get away with that nowadays.
No. Well, he's certainly Charles and the subsequent royals haven't inherited what you'd call it a larrikin spirit.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, no, it definitely hasn't flown through.
So there's been a lot of talk about the future of the British monarchy after Queen Elizabeth, because she's
getting on now. I think she's 93, isn't she? And
Prince
I think
Philip is 98.
He's not in good health. He's in hospital at the moment. So
and he's retired from
for all duty. So it'd be interesting to know what it will happen in the coming few years.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you remember the original British House of Cards. There. With Alistair Urquhart.
No, I don't. I don't even think I've seen it. To be honest,
in the second part, it's called to play the king, where the new king, because they have the queen dying in that second one, and a Prince Charles like prince becomes king, and he starts to want to implement all these social justice policies. And obviously, Urquhart is a staunch Thatcherite conservative, and so you sort of see this. A clash, and the king trying to interfere with British politics, and you sort of wonder, given that it's a political issue, climate change, and whether Prince Charles, whether he'd sort of be like that fictional king in the second House of Cards, because the reason why Australia rejected a republic in 1999 and still continue to this day is because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And Queen Elizabeth has been the perfect
monarch.
Perfect, and they don't want, because they know that it'll probably be a politician who'll be the president, and could be somebody like Eddie Maguire might be our first president.
That's quite scary, isn't it?
It basically the Republic model that would get up would be a ceremonial president, but it'd be some sort of pseudo celebrity.
I'm sure, and I've got there's no two ways about it. It will happen at some stage. I reckon with almost in my lifetime.
Well, that's why I talk about that. It'll be a completely new dynamic, and as we saw in the election. The recent UK election, the Scots, they voted for Scottish National Party.
They got a strong nationalist movement.
They want
in Scotland.
They want a rerun of the referendum, which I do think it's fair enough, because David Cameron did interfere with that referendum.
Well, they're entitled to that. Personally, it's sad. I hope the UK doesn't implode. So
you're for the British Union?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. However, if they got some numbers and they want to vote on it, then it is what it is.
And also the other development was Sinn Féin winning more seats than the Democratic Unionist Party.
And that's the first time ever. Yeah, that's the first time ever.
They're so hardcore Republican that they don't even take up their seats in Westminster. They refuse
to go there.
And recognise the Queen. And obviously, there's been a lot of speculation about how deep the Irish Republican Army roots. They are a party both in Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. obviously it's the troubles started 50 years ago.
I mean, even I can remember in mainland, you know, we used to get the bombings and everything.
Yeah.
And it was quite horrendous at times. You know, just innocent people getting killed. It was not nice.
And it was
not good times.
It was both sides.
It was both sides.
Republican paramilitary and the Unionists as well.
You can't just put it all onto the IRA. I mean, they were bad people. There's no two ways about it. They used to blow up buses with kids in there, and you know, bombs in pubs, and
And
it was a war, so it's horrible things happen in wars.
But the positions of successive British governments have been that it's up to the people of Northern Ireland, and the Unionists have always been in the majority, but not in 2019.
First time ever, yeah.
But in the Queen's speech opening Parliament, which is written by the government, because the full name of the Conservative Party is the Conservative and Unionist Party, therefore a union between the four nations of the United Kingdom. And so, well, the Queen said there's going to be no Scottish referendum, and I'm not sure another referendum. I'm not sure about Northern Ireland.
Well, listen, there won't be in the short term, but there will be at some stage in the not too far, distant future.
And it's interesting. Part of this nationalist motivation in what the Celtic nations, because Scotland and Ireland, they're Celtic people, while in England they're Anglo people, so they are a different ethnicity, and it's fair to say that the English Anglos, they have committed a fair amount of atrocities against the Celts over the centuries.
Years. Yeah, absolutely they have. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest about it. The English, they raped and pillaged everyone. You know, but
But yes, it's the point that I was making was that they want to be independent, Scotland and Northern Ireland, the Celtic nation, so they can rejoin the European Union, which sort of makes and Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland has said that we want all the EU citizens to be able to stay in Scotland.
Yeah, okay. Well, I honestly believe that if that did happen, as and when, and if it does happen, I think that people would soon change their mind.
Well, they keep voting for the Scottish National Party.
They do.
So if they don't want to be ruled by Anglos, but want other people to come in,
that's right.
Be my guest.
Ruled by the French and the Germans and everything. It's I don't think that will come to that, to be honest with you. But they'll get fed up with that. It's if they want independence, but they want to be ruled by Europe, well, hello.
Yes, but obviously Boris Johnson's indicated no.
No, he's put his foot down and said that's not going to happen.
But there could be, and this is where a lot of people think it will get messy, that the Scottish government might just decide to have their own referendum. But as we saw in Catalonia, they did that, and
it was turned to shit.
Yeah, it was deemed illegal by the Spanish government. They got arrested. The Catalan nationalists, and some of them are actually in exile in Scotland.
Are they really?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so Nicola Sturgeon was asked about that, and she's sort of like, I'm not going to comment on ongoing. So after Brexit, because it has been voted on the withdrawal agreement, so
on Friday, so that's good.
January 31st.
Yeah, so that's good.
So now there's Boris Johnson. He's sort of taking a bit of the mickey, as the British say. He's now passed a law that.
Cannot extend it for more than past I think it's the 30th.
Well, this is their ongoing relationship with the European Union, because this is the withdrawal agreement. Then there's how they're going to
negotiate, but they can't extend it past that end of 2020.
So it's illegal for not to have I think it's the 30th of December 2020,
which
is it's a middle finger to all the legislation they passed against him during that time. Labour Party still voted against it because, well, they didn't vote against Brexit. They said they didn't like the deal, and now they're bitching and moaning that how can we have a year to negotiate a withdrawal, a ongoing agreement?
I think personally it'll be just a clean break. No divorce payment, World Trade Organization terms. It's probably
well, Boris
the best thing.
He's got thumping mandate.
He's got a big mandate to get on and get it done,
and even a lot of their Remainers, the yellers and screamers outside Downing Street and
They've
Westminster.
just gone away a little bit. I think they've accepted it now.
Yeah, and the legal challengers kept launching all those lawsuits. They're basically
crazy,
given up.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
But of course, there's the Antifa. The UK branch, the Socialist Workers Party.
The night of the election, they rioted outside Downing Street.
I tried to find the grab from YouTube. I couldn't find it.
Okay.
There's that woman shouting, "Not my prime minister! Not my prime minister! Racist, fascist, sexist! Not my prime minister!"
Yeah.
And basically, she's like a doll. Like you pull there, and like she can only say those.
That's the best you got. Yeah, pull the string sort of thing. Yeah, and away she goes. Yeah.
And we're seeing the same thing in Australia, where I mentioned the Change.org petition.
Yeah.
Basically, the left think that just yelling and screaming in the street, starting e-petitions, and also spamming social media with saying "not my prime minister," and still trending on Sunday night is "ScoMo must go."
Oh,
even though he just got re-elected.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so this is the tantrum. They think that basically by behaving like children.
Well, I don't think they believe in democracy, really, at the end of the day. It's all about them, It doesn't matter what the big majority wants.
And I mentioned they're acting like children because obviously their parents didn't teach them that yelling and screaming, it doesn't mean you get your way.
No, it's a shame. Maybe the parents should have turned their bottoms a bit
But I
more.
know that... it was Raheem Kassim, who's the editor of Breitbart London, shared what the map of the UK would look like if 18 to 24-year-olds voted, and it's just all red.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Yeah. But I mean, it is scary. But and that's why Corbyn wanted to allow 16-year-olds to vote. He tried to change that because he knew he would have a lot more clout. Thankfully, that never happened.
And also in the actual election map, which was all blue. In England, the red bits were either London
and parts of Wales, and Scotland was mostly yellow,
and university towns.
That's exactly right. But it was really good to see all the Labour strongholds just fall to Conservatives,
because it's been called the Labour Wall because England has for a long time been a nation. Two sort of nations. There's been the South, which has sort of been the
big divide.
Affluent
big divide.
areas, in the North, the working class, Liverpool, Manchester, Yorkshire, Newcastle, Sunderland.
Yeah, that's right. That's, big industrial areas where the working class. What's going on here, Tim?
Oh no, it's okay. We're still live.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just the monitors.
Okay.
Stuff. Everything's still.
We're still
in
here.
order.
We're still here. That's good.
But yes, even though the city centres of Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, Sunderland held up, there were still massive swings and
big
sort
swings.
of the outer areas.
Outer suburbs and everything. Yeah. No, it was good. And I think your Tory, they resonate more now with the working class people. Because like I say, people strongly rejected, Corbyn's idea of a, socialist republic, which is, that's what he was hell-bent on.
And they talked about, they don't like this name, Boris's babies, the sort of young ones, the class of 2019. A lot of them come from working class backgrounds. They have traditional jobs like they're teachers and nurses. They went to state schools, not necessarily university educator. There was actually people pointed out that there was the first gay Muslim MP, but it's actually been clarified since then that he's not actually gay. He ticked the wrong box on his application.
There you go.
Well, that's his claim now.
That's his claim. He just accidentally ticked the wrong box.
Yes.
Okay.
Or maybe sort of when he was announced as a gay Muslim MP,
Jeez, I made a mistake there. Yeah, that's going to come back to haunt me.
Yes. Well, for now, even though there's more and more diversity in England, it's always been a haven for LGBT people, especially London.
London is very much so.
There's been repeated polls of British Muslims how much they're disgusted about homosexuality and it should be illegal.
Oh goodness me! Yeah, it's good to see that they're nice and tolerant, isn't it? Yeah.
But yes, that is. I know that Sadiq Khan he voted when he was an MP, voted for same-sex marriage. He got away with it.
Yeah. Well, he would do. He's a character in himself. Sadiq Khan. I don't know how long he's going to be around. It's quite remarkable.
2020 London mayoral elections. I mean, it's quite astonishing that in 2012 they re-elected Boris Johnson, but in 2016 they voted for Sadiq Khan, the Labour Muslim.
When you see, like I said, and like we were talking about earlier, you see the the actual knife crime. There's something like about well over 100 people have been stabbed to death this year in London. It's that has to fall with Sadiq Khan. He's the mayor.
Yes, well, he previously said that terrorism is just part and parcel.
Living in a big city.
And he said recently that they attack London because we're such a strong and brave city.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
We have got another super chat on entropy. It's from Pissy Leaks with Peter Grace for $3 Australian. They've said, has Garry ever dressed up on Halloween as Michael Douglas from the movie Falling Down? If not, would he be up for the idea?
Oh, maybe. Reckon that suit me?
Yeah, it was Halloween. It's sort of big in Britain.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is big.
I mean, it's called an American thing. There's sort of basically the what I can't remember what I called them. The Halloween grumps. That's what I called that.
Oh.
You know, the American
it's American
thing.
yeah. Well, I used to do it as a kid.
Yeah.
We used to enjoy it. Yeah.
And I remember in Harry Potter, Hogwarts used to celebrate Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Harry Potter, well, J.K. Rowling, since she finished the Harry Potter books, she's decided to engage in political commentary.
Views, yeah. She's got some views, yeah.
And, well, she wanted more refugees into the UK, but of course...
Not in her house.
Yes, Paul Joseph Watson. He was the one that pointed out, look at your mansions, why don't you house them there? But she is in a bit of trouble now for this tweet. Dress however you please. Call yourself whatever you like. Sleep with any consenting adult who will have you. Live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex, she means biological sex is real.
Yeah.
I stand with Maya. This is not a drill. Now, to give you a bit of background here, hopefully this screen share will work here. Yeah, this is from the British Spectator. J.K. Rowling is a TERF, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. This is a really, there's acid, knife, and terrorism and rape.
This is what we want to talk about.
Yeah. And I noticed their intellectual dark web publications, which sort of the Spectator is one of us, are sort of more focused on. Well, because a lot of the TERFs are second wave feminist lesbians.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to share spaces with biological males. But of course, the third wave feminists, they accept trans women. And so it's this stupid fight here. But of course, this is another thing. The UK is well down basically the thought police, because, well, there was a mother arrested for a transphobic tweet. They've been arresting people, the Scotland Yard for abusive tweet or just mean tweets for many years, for about 10 years.
Staggering.
Yeah. So so it all goes down to Maya Forster. She lost her job working at an international think tank campaigning against poverty and inequality because she refused to use the correct pronouns for this non-binary transgender individual. Scottish National Party councillor Gregor Murray referred to them as he.
My goodness, why would you not? The dude, he's got a beard. Any he's have beards. Yes, that's absolutely a joke, isn't it?
Obviously.
Seriously. I mean, and that's news.
Yes.
That is news. People are dying in the world, and some guy there likes to think that he's something different.
And the way, I see it, transgender people have been around for, 50 years, and it always used to be a binary transition that you transition from.
You're a guy or you're a girl. Yeah. And you're moving from one to the other. You're not, a different gender. You're not a third or fourth gender.
And it was obviously, trans women knew that if they if they had the operation to turn their penis into a vagina, they'd have the female appearance. They, as the term, pass as women, but they would never be a biological woman. They couldn't give birth. They don't have ovaries.
Of course.
But you can't even say that now, even though. I saw on Sky News the other day, Australian trans-military veteran Catherine McGregor.
Oh, yeah. I actually seen that as well. She was pretty good.
Yeah, she says, I don't speak for women. I don't know if I identify. I'm a trans woman because transitioning to a female appearance is how I felt, I wanted to live. I couldn't function
she was
as
on,
a biological male.
I thought she was actually sensible and pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
I mean, she's friends with Tony Abbott.
Yeah,
They've been,
that's right. Yeah, they have,
friends, and she's still got a bit of, obviously, manliness in her because she's a cricket tragic. She's
very sporty.
Yeah, she was. She was on the board of. I'm not sure if she was on the board. She had some role with Cricket Australia, but left because, they want to allow biological men to play women's cricket.
And she was against that.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But even somebody like her, trans woman and a cricket tragic.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably up there with John Howard in terms of cricket tragic.
Yeah.
And of course, who did you go for in the Ashes? That's
a terrible one.
Yes.
I went for the winners.
Winners, which was Australia.
So we were happy with that.
See, that's a key dual loyalty question.
That's a tough one, actually. That is a tough one, but I
remember when I went to, what was it? One of the it's a soccer merch store in Dandenong when I was getting my World Cup gear for the last World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
She had a clearly clear English accent.
Yeah.
And I asked her, are you going to be getting an Australian jersey? And she's like, no, I'll be getting an English one.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. No.
Yes.
It's funny, Guy, I think it's really important. If you live in a country, it doesn't matter what country you're in, but you have to, you just go with the flow. You embrace it. You become part of that. Don't hold on to your Italian top or your Pakistani flag or whatever. You just embrace Australia.
But as you said, if Australia's winning, then
no, we're on to a winner.
Yeah. And I think with soccer, for example, the reason why a lot of people who are Australian citizens but say have got Dutch, German or Croat heritage decide to go...
Just because in case Australia aren't playing or something. Yeah.
Well, Australia was bombed at the last three World Cups. We've made it, but always bombed. Well, England, they've only won the one World Cup in 1966.
But listen,
never won the Euro.
Nah, but they had a good World Cup last time, which was good. They got a good young team out there at the moment. So, we'll see what happens next World Cup.
Euros 2020, maybe.
Well, they've dominated that at the moment. They're through. They've qualified. So, So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yes, that's the next, I would think, national struggle.
I would have thought so, yeah.
But that's also interesting. The UK only competes as a union in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's strange,
with soccer.
Commonwealth Games, it's completely different,
And rugby union as well. In rugby union, that's the only sport where Ireland fields one united team.
They do,
In soccer, they're two separate nations.
The only time they do something is like when they have the British Lions, they call them. They come over
British and Irish Lions.
That's once every 4 years or whatever. So
I mean, because Ireland is included in the British Isles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously the island of Britain.
Of course.
But the Isles include not just Ireland, but Jersey, and there's a few others as well.
Yeah. Well, Jersey, that's a tax-free threshold. It's a beautiful place, Jersey. Channel Islands, only place that was occupied by the Germans in the world. Second World War. Yeah.
British, they colonised a lot of islands which are now tax havens.
Yeah.
And it was also where, was it the Canary Islands? We mentioned Robert Maxwell before. It was the Canary Islands. He fell off his yacht.
That down just off of Africa,
The Virgin Islands, that's where Jeffrey Epstein had his secret island as well. It's part of the US now, but obviously the British founded it. So... where are we at here? I think we've pretty much... Oh, there is a question from Dia. I think this is worth it. Gary, are you a civic nationalist? Because I don't want to go into it too much, but this is now there's now a big debate in the British nationalist movement, because obviously Tommy Robinson, who's been in the public eye for a decade, he was always about the Islamification of the UK, the grooming gangs, basically the fact that, well, if you want to remain a liberal democratic country, you can't have Islam in it. And Tommy Robinson, he didn't care, what skin color or sexuality or religion somebody was, as long as they wanted to be British and live in a liberal society. But we've seen the return, probably in the past year, of Mark Collett, or back in the early 2000s, he was the youth organizer for the British National Party, which was, they were quite successful in the 2000s and got 2 MEPs, but they were explicitly a white nationalist party. They wanted to preserve a white Britain, but they obviously... Well, Nick Griffin was the leader for many years, and he sort of the downfall of the party. I'm not sure, what's happened to him now. He didn't know how to adopt to, because he tried to. He was too much of a weasel. He's like, oh, we're not a racist party. I've never had any allegiance to Nazi ideology, and he just get caught out, and so he looked like
time himself up like a liar.
But the thing that's reason why people have turned on Tommy now, obviously there is the fact that he is a Zionist, and there's that very, I'd say, damning photo of him with a Mossad shirt on, which like it's all very well and good to support the state of Israel. Like, obviously, I support, like, the United States of America, but I'm not going to wear a CIA shirt.
No, that's right. And that's the thing. I mean, you don't want to get involved in, all that. I think it's a load of crap, people getting involved in the Israel-Palestinian thing. It's got, you live in Australia, just concentrate. You can have an interest, but don't get too heavily involved in it. There's no need to.
But that's partly the reason why Mark Collett's emerged again, but also the fact that these migrant groups who are non-white, they are changing the culture of the nations, and there's a lot of ghettos, well, especially in London, there's no incentive to integrate again.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I've always been about sensible migration, and you've got to have the right sort of migration, because you do need migration, there's no two ways about it. However, you need to stop from, a European background, really. I mean, it's an observation as well, as much as anything. Obviously Melbourne's got problems with Sudanese gangs and everything. It's how can you tarnish it or brush over the fact it's a major issue. So was that really a good policy bringing them over here? Does that make me racist? It's...
And, like, obviously it's fair to say that Mark Collett is focused on, as he put it, like, the actions of a certain tribe, as how he puts it. But the thing is, the thing that I like about Mark Collett is that he's willing to talk about all of the problems of multiculturalism, dual loyalty. Nothing's off limits. He doesn't believe in some sort of Overton window set up by the left. And so it's worth talking about, what sort of racial mix is going to make sure that Britain, as we've always remember it, remains. It's uncomfortable at times to discuss.
Oh, listen, it's a very uncomfortable thing to talk about. What can I say? I don't like really to get too involved in it, but I mean, it's certainly their policy of the last 35 years. It's clearly failed. I mean, you look at, like we spoke about, some of the northern towns and even the southern towns. You look at the knife crime and the acid attacks, and it's clearly failed. The policy of immigration, it's failed.
Obviously, after the Second World War, the British Empire collapsed, and that was a ethnic empire.
Yeah.
And so to my point of view, the fact that there was a lot of Afro-Caribbean migrants to the UK and also from British India, I think because they had basically been British, I think that's fair that they got to be part of what was remainder of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And the Afro-Caribbeans and the British Indians, they have integrated into British culture.
Yeah, they have. Like the
quite
Caribbean, the Caribbeans, they come over like in the 50s and in the 60s. They come over and they worked hard, really. I mean, there was a few issues in the early days, and
like obviously one of the funniest British comedians is Lenny Henry, who's a Afro-Caribbean Brit, and I certainly think the sort of
he was funny. He was funny when he was younger, and then he got corrupted as he got older, and he went over to the left shoe, over to the dark side. Yeah.
But yeah, I do abhor like some of the racist abuse that's been put to Afro-Caribbean English soccer players such as Ashley Cole.
That's got no place anywhere.
Yes,
that's got no place anywhere.
Even the English Afro-Caribbean players in Bulgaria. That was
they copped it. There's no need for that.
That's
got no place in society. Let's be honest about it.
And of course, if anyone watched Bohemian Rhapsody, the Freddie Mercury biopic, the truth about Freddie Mercury is that he was a Indian. He was called Farrokh
Bulsara.
Yes, but he wasn't actually from. His family were British Indians who lived in
Zanzibar.
Yes,
Zanzibar.
But they had to leave after Africa was decolonized because...
Well, the Muslims caused havoc there at the time, so that's why they had to get out of there.
It was not just white flight from Africa, but non-black flight. He was, Freddie Mercury, Zoroastrian. So obviously, British Empire was a multi-racial one.
Absolutely.
But obviously, it's... what is the makeup of the United Kingdom now is certainly not what.
Well, it hasn't been a success, has
yes.
it? You know, it's and you got to be mature enough to be able to speak about something like that.
And so that is going to be a continuing challenge for Britain going forward, because I know that a lot of people think that the battle is won with Boris Johnson being elected Prime Minister. No. I noticed that we once...
The battle's just started.
Yeah, we were once affiliated with a British... or as they used to be described, a alt-right, far-right website. They were deleted from Facebook because they were the only news outlet that gave Tommy Robinson a fair hearing.
Yeah.
And the guy that ran that, Jordan James, he was half Jamaican. He was full British nationalist, but he wanted to preserve the UK as it is, and he recently posted on Political Light that it's the site's basically going to go into archive mode because populism has won. I'm not sure if there was another reason for Jordan closing down the site, but no, the battle is not won.
No, it's just started.
No,
it really
and
is.
it's your job's never done just because of one election. I mean, as we're seeing with the Groypers and the America Firsters in the United States, just because Donald Trump was elected president doesn't mean it's America First.
No.
And all the establishment people around Donald Trump, they're doing their best to co-opt him.
So I was just looking at that comment here from, is it Svanitek?
Svanitek.
No, acid attacks in Poland and Hungary. I wonder why.
There's that quite based.
Yeah,
I should get his name up because that's a Polish name. Polish. He did live in the UK, so he's fluent in English. Dominik Tarzinski. He basically goes on. He most recently appeared on Al Jazeera.
Okay.
Which is I noticed that YouTube now discloses that Al Jazeera is partly funded by the Qatari government. There's this disclosure now.
Okay.
They say with the BBC as well that it's funded by the British government, which is nice that YouTube is actually, sort of saying subliminally, this is government propaganda. Yeah. So he was asked. He said, why did Poland not send people to grieve after the Christchurch mosque massacre when even Muslims went to the march after the Charlie Hebdo massacre, which was, of course, the French cartoon publication which published the Mohammed ones, which they were massacred there. And his response, Tarzinski, was, we don't have marches in Poland, we have borders. And I noticed that Kathy Newman, host of Channel 4 News, she became an international meme laughingstock after she was basically gobsmacked by Jordan Peterson. She had Tarzinski on her show recently, and she asked, how many refugees has Poland taken? And he goes, 0. And she's like, are you proud of that? He's like, if you're asking me, like, are our streets safe? Am I looking after the Polish people? She couldn't believe that he answered
just like that,
and that he was proud of that.
Yeah.
And I also like that he turned the question on her, saying that, well, if you're asking me that, we're taking care of our people, then yes.
Fantastic, yeah. But that's the reality of it, let's be honest. It's,
it's your last chance to send through a super chat or question on infamy. We're approaching 9 p.m. Melbourne time. We did start a bit late, but we might wrap it up here. So thank you for joining
thanks for having me, Tim.
Garry.
I've enjoyed it. It's good to have a chat, and thanks very much.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Obviously,
and best wishes.
Australia Christmas is quite different from the British Christmas.
It's very different. It's nice and warm.
And I think, what is that? Our most famous Christmas movie. We don't have many in Australia.
Oh, listen, Crocodile Dundee's always a favourite.
Well, there was a movie called Crackers. It was made in the late 90s. About a dysfunctional blended family going to Christmas, and obviously it was summertime but it was a comedy. Obviously it was at the end of it, they sort of even though they are dysfunctional, there's sort of like a message that they get on in the end. But that's the only sort of Christmas classic I can think of in Australia.
Well, in the UK, Christmas Day, you always got James Bond.
Bond.
That's a classic thing to do.
I might, since I've recently watched Tomorrow Never Dies, I might watch a few other Bond ones.
Yes,
or 007, that's another one.
Wow, that's changing potentially.
Yes, 007 is going to be a black woman.
Well, I heard it's going to be a black dude. Now it's going to be a woman. It's wow. Yeah, go figure that.
Yes, I mean, why can't you just create like a different franchise with a black woman?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't have to be one
just
secret
another
Asian movie.
It could be 008. Yeah, or 004, but not 007.
I mean, I grew up with, a female M that was played well by Judi Dench.
She was fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, she was fantastic. Yeah, she was very good, actually. Yeah.
So I actually only know M as a female.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, back in the day, it was, M
was that a big deal at the time, a female M?
Nah, not really. I mean, that was just a bit of a part to the, the film series and the franchise. But James Bond is, He's
he's
007.
He's a womanizer as well. That's the other thing.
Well, what are they going to do?
You can't Me Too him.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, long live James Bond.
So, as I said at the beginning of the show, this is the last show before Christmas. So, I'll be back on Friday, the 27th of December. There's still a lot of other news to discuss. Obviously, we've been following the Groupar Leadership Summit in Palm Beach, Florida, which occurred at the same time as the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit. And they say there's been a lot of, you would say, a fire down there with Nick Fuentes, host of America First, trying to get into the TP USA conference and trying to confront Ben Shapiro. So there's a lot to digest After that, Scott Morrison over back here in Australia, he's cut short his Hawaiian holiday. So these lefties who demanded he be back, now's your chance to say what type of leadership you want him to display. Which is, they still haven't answered that question.
Yeah.
Australian Protectionist Party hosting in Uncockables on Thursday. Yes, I'm planning to do a Boxing Day special because, well, Boxing Day is...
You're not coming to the cricket, Tim?
Well, it ends at 6 p.m.
Okay.
Uncockables was in the
Well, I thought you
evening.
might have kicked back and had a few beers, you know? Traditional thing to do on Boxing Day.
No, Boxing Day is, it's back to full steam because they have the Boxing Day Premier League matches in England.
They do, so it's a big day. So we usually go to the cricket. We'll watch them hopefully thump New Zealand and, kick on, have a couple of quiet beers.
Is that where you're going to be?
Boxing Day, yes.
Yeah, you gave away your location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come and say hello.
Well, obviously, tourism in New Zealand, it's taken a bit of a hit with the tragic volcano eruption.
Yeah.
So, I don't expect you to tell me on air where you're going, but all I can say is stay safe. Don't go to any danger areas.
In Melbourne?
Well, when you're in Melbourne as well, yes.
No, I'm saying I'm going to the cricket.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But, as we saw recently, the down at Chelsea, the summer crime wave has also returned as well.
Yeah, I won't be taking my family down there, to be honest with you.
Which is, it's tragic there. But I know, credit to the Andrews government, they let Victoria Police arrest a few more of them, but when they get to court, they get a slap
on the wrist. You know, it's you got to come down hard on that stuff. Doesn't matter who you are. You know, if you're out there running amok, causing trouble, you got to get sorted out. Justice needs to be served.
So the Unshackled will still continue to report the news over the Christmas and New Year period. So please visit theunshackled.net on a regular basis. You've of course can see the archive of the now 33 episodes of WilmsFront that have aired this year at timwilms.com. That's also got a link to my social media and also the podcast version of the show. I am slowly putting the archive of episodes up on BitChute, as well as there's the live replay on the Tim Wilms YouTube channel, highlights on the Unshackled YouTube channel, and of course we'll continue to stream to both the Tim Wilms YouTube channel and also on DLive as well, because that continues to grow in popularity as well, and you can send us lemons directly as well. So thank you for everyone who's watched this program and help it grow over the past 3 months since it started in September. Obviously, I'll continue probably more sporadically with the show over the Christmas and New Year summer period, but I'll still bring you as much up-to-date news and analysis as much as possible. So thank you to the live audience who was here tonight. People, it's really good because I'm not sure, because obviously you've got your sort of normal life as well, but we've built up the Australian alt media primetime lineup here. Yeah. So we've got a regular loyal viewership who, rather than just watch mainstream media news and reality garbage.
Yeah, that's good.
We've got obviously there's not just my show and other Unshackled productions such as Detonation with Steel Archer and Report to Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecraft. XYZ, they've got their live show every Monday night. Matty Rose is now doing his weekly live stream on Saturday nights. Then we've got our joint production, the Uncockables, which will be on Boxing Day, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time, both on the Uncockables YouTube channel and DLive. And next Tuesday evening will be New Year's, not
Tuesday, Christmas Eve, or the following Tuesday.
Following Tuesday will be New Year's Eve. So we are planning some sort of New Year's Eve countdown, because it's not just going to be the end of 2019, end of a decade, and how much the world has changed. Well, how much our devices have changed as well. Like, iPhones have become much more advanced. Well, basically, it's been the death of CDs, DVDs, and
Hasn't it?
broadcast television.
Yeah, hasn't it? Yeah, broadcast TV is it has been.
What was it? Disney Plus has just launched, where it's got all 30 seasons of The Simpsons. So if you've like purchased all the Simpsons, collected all the Simpsons DVDs over the years, they're all redundant now.
Yeah, you don't need them.
Well, you don't need to like switch over the DVD. Like when you finish watching an episode, like get up and like press the
onto the next one, mate. The remote's on your hand, just away you go.
So, well, that's just been one development. Obviously, politics has changed a lot in that time, but we'll leave it there tonight. Merry Christmas to everyone. And, of course, remember that Epstein didn't kill himself, and Ghislaine Maxwell is still a free woman, which still needs to be reported on properly. So, good night, everyone, and I will see you after Christmas. And, yeah, thank you once again,
See you
Garry.
guys. Thanks for viewing.
Thanks for tuning in to WilmsFront. Visit timwilms.com or Rational Rise TV to view the archive of episodes. And keep visiting theunshackled.net to view all our shows and to keep up with the latest real news and analysis.